The worldwide stats say that 65% of the Mini Cooper owners are females. But that's not how we really think about this car. To us, this car almost begs you to have some sort of a special bond with it. Maybe that's why, as the worldwide stats suggest again, 1/3 of the Mini owners also name their car. And just like motorcyclists, when the Mini drivers pass by each other, they wave at each other. And once inside the car and having driven it, it is then not difficult to instantly understand what makes the Mini Cooper the iconic brand that it indeed is and why it enjoys such a huge cult following. This car changed the way cars were designed and engineered. In the beginning, it was designed to be an affordable four-seater that could go over 90% of the motorway roads. But that was back in the 1950s. Today, as you see, it's an out-and-out fashion statement. Now, being able to take a design from the 50s and to tweak it in such a way that it fits in the modern world without really losing its classic charm is absolutely commendable. Look at the way the door closes on this car. A loud thud of premium vintage quality. This car, in fact, is a small little big party piece. And if you're not impressed by the car until now, this toggle switch here is bound to change that. The thing about open motoring is that you get to smell every fragrance and hear every sound. And the Mini makes it even more special for you if you want to stop for a picnic snack. Well, then there's a bench at the back of it. The rooftop is fully retractable and partially retractable, and what that does is basically gives rise to a sunroof function, which is a nice touch. And if you have ever dreamt of a convertible in India, then the BMW's Mini Cooper here is your best bet and the most accessible one for our Indian roads. At about 36 lakh rupees on road in Mumbai, you can add tremendous amounts of glamour and fashion cohesion to your life. One of the reasons why this convertible looks absolutely stunning and fabulous is because it's got the furniture on the inside that you can flaunt to the world on the outside. In BMW, the fit and finish is an important aspect or element in their approach towards automotive making, and it's the same here. Now, in the center here, the large dial is a vintage speedometer, and it looks like a touchscreen display, but it's not. What it does is it houses what Mini calls the Mini Visual Boost, much like the BMW's iDrive. And instead of having usual push buttons everywhere, what you rather have here is toggle switches, which makes me feel as if I'm toggling between features of a vintage fighter plane. It's got uber cool doors, frameless doors, as you can see, and very nice to touch detailing on what is on the whole a very premium sports car-like interior. And yes, in the beginning, if you're new to this car, then the ergonomics might be a little confusing, especially with the buttons. I'm sorry, not buttons, the toggle switches, like the left window button here and the right window button here. But it doesn't really all get in your way, and that's because of the pampering seats. Now, I'm 6 feet tall, and there's plenty of room to move around with this seat. And the headroom, well, as you can see, the headroom is plenty. So what's the catch? Because there always is one. The downside is that even with the top up in this car, the car doesn't really feel all that well insulated, and there's quite a lot of road noises giving you company all the time. The soft rooftop, there's excessive wind noise, there's a lot of squeaking, and then the tire noise and rattling sound, and then the stiff suspension of the car. The boot space is good enough to accommodate a shoe. And then of course, being a convertible, when every single time you want to reverse, the rearward visibility, it's literally non-existent. And then of course, there is one small big problem, the origin of which can be traced to the very name of the car, the Mini.
Oh yeah!
None of your friends are ever going to sit in the back of the car.
You see, the Mini is not about practicality. It isn't about interior space. It's just about providing the maximum effort as far as handling is concerned. You'll find the term go-kart-like being said very often about the Mini Cooper. And that is quite true. It just grips and grips and grips, and eventually when you reach the limit, it understeers, which is really, really nice and safe. Also contributing to the handling is the lovely steering. It's electrically assisted, but you wouldn't know it. It's just so precise, it's so full of feel and feedback. This is, I think, the best steering system we've driven in a long, long time. But what is not nice is the flip side, the ride. The ride is stiffer than a military guy. And it's so hard that if I try to ride over cat size, I can tell you what size they are. The engine in this car is a 1.6 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine. This 6-speed transmission is a conventional auto box. It doesn't have any dual clutch trickery or anything like that. What it does do is shift gears really, really slowly. For a car that really handles so well, it's a shame that it gets a slow gearbox. This is the one thing that would have improved the Mini by leaps and bounds. The brakes on the Mini Cooper are all around discs. And they need to be, because this is a pretty heavy car. It's only as big as a Swift, maybe just a little bit bigger, but it weighs 1.5 tons. Despite the extra weight, despite the not so powerful engine, and despite the really slow gearbox, the Mini Cooper Convertible is a lot of fun to drive. The Mini Cooper Convertible has really nice retro styling that will not grow old a second time. And with the top down, even the interiors contribute to that retro styling. But if it's power you want, this is not the car to buy. For that, you need the Cooper S. It's 184 horsepower and 220 Newton meters of torque.
But then if you want a convertible, then you want a convertible, don't you, Charles?
That is true.
And so, this Mini is the most accessible convertible then in India. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not going to be about power, it's not going to be about space, but a whole lot about style, elegance, statement. It's more for the fashionistas maybe, and it's proof enough to say that you don't have to be big to be happy.